So our response has mainly been focused on delivering the Home But Not Alone service in East Suffolk. So that's helping people with access to food and medicine, supporting them if they're feeling isolated or lonely. And that's a Suffolk project which was set up to help vulnerable people, both those who are shielding, so they're the people that are most clinically vulnerable and aren't allowed out for 12 weeks, and those that are on the next group down, so people that are over 70 and have got particular health conditions that might put them more at risk. So the team have been working really hard. We've got a really great set of volunteers that have been working with us, but we've also been working with a range of community groups in local communities who've done a really good job, been really responsive, supporting local people. So it's been a real partnership effort. Everybody pulling together, everybody's been really putting a lot of effort in, working a lot of hours. So you know, that's something I think everybody can be really proud of.
Within the first 2 weeks, I had an elderly gentleman on the phone to me, clearly was struggling. His wife has dementia, and he was finding it hard to think about how he was going to operate and support them. And sorry to say, he actually broke down in tears to me, and that was quite hard. And I'm human, and it played on my mind for several days after that. Thankfully, we called him back and there was a support mechanism in place for him. But that's just one of several. I have also had the experience where a gentleman has got used to speaking to me every week about his shopping and what he needs. And now he rings every week and wants a little chat. And I've never met him, but I feel I know him so well. I've learned about his family and his life experiences. And sometimes people just want to chat, and I think we've been not only able to assist them with shopping, etc., we have been a listening ear, and we've been able to, where we've identified there are other needs, so people might need support from social care, for example, we've been able to direct them to the appropriate help.
In my area, we really focused on trying to get people to come through the helpline once, link up with a volunteer, and then that's your volunteer for the remainder of this pandemic for as long as you need it. It reduces the amount of time we're dealing with new referrals and repetition, and it starts to build a relationship between that volunteer and between that individual. Maybe that's something that moves on forwards. In Martlesham it has. We've linked one of their parish councillors with a lady that was looking for a little bit of conversation, and she was struggling with her isolation. That's now something, it turns out they already have similar interests. So that's a relationship and a friendship that's built from it. It's worked really well. I think in Kesgrave we've had over 100 referrals alone, quite a few in Rushmere, quite a few in Martlesham and the surrounding villages.
Actually, a lady I spoke to only yesterday, I called her because we make the initial call, we get from the Home But Not Alone, make the call, and I got really worried because I said her name several times and I could hear her in the background and there was nothing other than this very deep breathing. So I got very concerned quite quickly, and numerous times I said, please answer me because I can hear that you're there. And obviously I was thinking the worst, something awful could have happened. And long story short, one of the volunteers went out to see her and she was deaf.
Wow.
And actually couldn't hear. And a phone that she had relied upon pre-lockdown was no longer working. So she couldn't hear anything on the phone. So we managed to link her with one of the deaf associations, and they recommended a certain phone that she could have on a loudspeaker that was for deaf people, and so they were brilliant. And we had that delivered the next day, and when I called her about 2 days later, she was absolutely over the moon. And so stuff like that is just really heartwarming, and she said it's changed her life. She said, I've got all my members of the family now to call me, but she was just, totally isolated on her own. So it's stories like that, and there are so many of those that I could tell you over the course of time.
We are working with Fair Share, who have been able to provide additional food supplies for free to the food banks that have signed up for the scheme, which is no additional cost to them, but provides them with more food that they're able to provide to local people. As part of the Task and Finish group, we're also ensuring that we keep in contact with the food banks on a fortnightly basis by calling them and having regular check-ins to see that they're doing okay, ask them if there's anything else that we need to be doing to support them going forward and to continue beyond the pandemic phase. We have had some figures through which show that there's been an 87% increase in demand across our district for people being accessing food banks and receiving food parcels from them, which has kind of corroborated the need for them to sign up for the Fair Share additional food, and 8 of the food banks in our district have done so far, which has been really positive.
Our befrienders are mainly East Suffolk Council employees, but we have got councillors and some of our lower staff volunteers as well, and they've all been amazing, and they've made so many relationships together, which is great, and they all really care for one another, which I think particularly for our team is really important, because we don't have to worry about those people as much because we know that someone's looking out for them, particularly because these people who've got befriended don't really have any family members around them, and so yeah, that's just been great. And from this as well, because they care for one another, we have done quite a few welfare checks for them, because there has been quite a lot of times where they've kind of rung them up and they haven't answered, and they've become quite concerned about how they are. A lot of the time it has just been that their phone has run out of battery or they've got a new mobile number, but I think it just shows even more how important these relationships have been that they've made.
The family support officers have been using Skype, telephone contact, anything that they can really, just to keep in touch with their families, to make sure that they're continuing to receive the support that they need. Obviously there's been a lot of difficulties over this time, lots of families who aren't used to spending quite so much time together. There are financial difficulties, obviously DV, increase in mental health, and also drug and alcohol dependency. So it's very difficult when the children are not going to school either, because you haven't got that safety net as well to make sure that those children are still safe and being looked after well by their families. There has been issues where we've not been able to offer the support where we would want to, so we've had to call on other agencies like social care, police, and do welfare checks just to ensure the safety of all the families.
So I'm having regular meetings with town and parish councils and the support groups that have been set up as a result of COVID-19. And while it's been very much about what is the problem now, how can we get food to people who are hungry, how can we give financial advice to people who are hit hard times, all those sorts of things. Medication is now about, well, it has been for a few weeks now, is about how the recovery stage, how can we make communities resilient, how can we make them stronger if this sort of things to happen again. So we're just having those conversations with those groups to see, we don't just get to the end when the government says, well, you're good to go, COVID-19 is over. We need to think about actually what we can do to continue that momentum and make our community more sustainable. So there's lots of different conversations about that, and there's also been some really good outcomes. I think we don't want to focus on the negatives of COVID-19. Obviously, there's been some horrendous stories, but actually there's a huge amount of positives about this. Communities are stronger, I feel. people trust their neighbours perhaps a bit more than they did before. They've built up a relationship with their neighbours that they didn't do before, and I think I believe that the town and parish councils in my areas in particular have really sort of stepped up to the plate to this, and from the word go, and I think they should have. I think they will have a much better relationship if they did have a good relationship before with their communities.
Being a communities officer, our job before this was to enable communities to have strong links with community groups, social groups, clubs, residents, and without a really strong relationship that we've already got, we could not have done what we have for them. You know, so to be able to rely on, especially in my area, Salvation Army, Basic Life Charity, and a really new response, which was Felixstowe Helping Hands. Without these people, and without having prior connections with these people, the work that I've done wouldn't have been possible. So it's a testament to our communities as well, and how they've enabled us.
And also the extent to which you've already put those foundations in place. So years of hard work by council officers has enabled this to go better than it might have done. Yeah,
it's definitely strengthened the already strong relationship that we've had with all of our communities. So it's been a really positive response from everybody involved, and it's also shown so much community spirit that we always knew was there, but people step up in hard times, don't they?
That's right.
And it's really shown a lovely side to people, and long may that continue.